Good afternoon, everyone. Thrilled to have you here. Special announcement, South by Southwest asked me to tell you that officially, given the weather outside, this is now North by Northeast Conference, so you'll all be getting new badges and all the proper things. So we're gonna do something a little different here. I'm gonna tell you the history, the last 120 years of higher ed in 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes, so we might skip over a couple of things, okay? So just bear with me, okay? Public higher ed. Last 120 years of public higher ed. Right there. Public higher ed, tall, big silos, departments, colleges, schools, right? With a bunch of passionate faculty, researchers, and teachers with an insular focus on their discipline and their teaching and their work. Very seldom do they collaborate with each other, these silos, but they do share a common grievance over parking. So, now, private higher ed has taken a very different tack, okay? Very different, radically different approach. You ready? Okay. Silos aren't as tall. There aren't quite as many of them. But the silos are filled with passionate faculty and staff teaching and research and all the great things that they do, very seldom collaborating with each other, and sharing a common grievance over parking, right? I mean, some things never end. Now, higher ed has come up with a lot of different ways to rank itself, to categorize itself, to determine quality, but none more important than the sacred altar of selectivity. The more people you don't let in, the better you are. Think about that. It's an exclusion model, not an inclusion model. Think about the hundreds of thousands of people closed out of academe because of this. Because of this. The more files you reject, somehow you're a better school. With, by the way, no empirical evidence to support that. We all know that higher ed moves at incredible breakneck speed, right? It's really the first Silicon Valley is higher ed, right? Incredible speed, just moving fast. No, of course not. Higher ed's been loaded up with resources, with athletics, with faculty and staff, administrators, far too many administrators, right? Loaded up with all of this. And it moves through the vast ocean of society with all the speed of a tectonic plate, right? Or a banana slug. If you're into banana slugs, that's how it moves. Now, here's the thing. About 40 years ago, maybe, we ended up with computers and network and technology to really, increase the tools that we can use to educate young people. Right? You've all seen this at one point or another. We have legions of IT specialists. Some of them may be here. They leave no stone unturned in tinkering with this network, patchworking and everything, like this poor guy here, right? Whenever we need more revenue, we jack up the cost. We need more things, more people, more technology, more whatever. We increase the cost. Tuition, room and board, whatever, fees, whatever we can. We jack it up, and as a result, what have we done? We've gored the ox. And we created a culture that is completely resistant to innovation. We're almost comfortable in our own stasis. We actually pretend like we're detached observers of the digital revolution, right? We have seminars and workshops talking about the digital revolution as if it doesn't apply to us, as somehow we're not there. And all this 120 years of evolution and development, we lost the faith of our customers, of our students and parents. We lost the faith. The numbers here, it doesn't matter what survey you look at, the numbers are irrefutable. People more and more people don't think higher ed's worth it. Not worth the cost. Now, we could debate that forever, but it doesn't matter. When the people that you want to have at your university lose faith in you, it doesn't matter the why. Now, look at your phone. It says March 8th, 2022. Your phone is wrong. It's March 8th, 2027. COVID and what we went through accelerated the digital revolution and the digital calendar. We are now 5 years ahead of where we thought we would be in 2022. We, not just higher ed, everybody. Okay, a lot of learned people write about this. And obviously, it's because of COVID, but you might think COVID is a disease, and it is, and it's horrible, and it's affected millions of people. But COVID has also engineered something different. It's engineered an opportunity in this digital revolution. Catalyst of verifiable individual data. Think about that. We're going to unpack it a little bit. When we talk about verifiable data, we're talking about a network and an ecosystem where the learner owns their own data and can use it throughout their career, educational or otherwise, for continuous learning and skill development, okay? And unlike some companies that will remain nameless, right, we're not monetizing learner data to make money. We're talking about empowering them with that data, not trying to sell them products. The other part of this is content management. Why? As I just showed you, everything in the academy is siloed, including courses and programs and majors. Everything is siloed. We've got to eliminate all the silos. Content management will do that. Modularize all the content. Content is what the academy has. It's our lifeblood. Take it and turn it into an endless array of education and skill development. What that does is greatly reduces the costs. It clears all kinds of obstacles out of the way. And instead of there being 1, 2, or 3 pathways for students, there are literally hundreds of pathways to access that content and to engage. And it really opens up. This model of education opens up access for millions of people who are closed out. And obviously, AI is a key part of this. Why AI? We've got to use AI not to sell products. We've got to use AI to provide Amazon-like service to all of our learners 24/7, 365. Those of you like me that developed an addiction to Amazon during the pandemic, we've got to use those same tools to push things out to the learners. We also, with AI, we can create a common language between education and employers. So employers don't have to decipher, right? They don't have to decipher what this degree means and does this student or graduate have these capabilities. They don't have to look at a transcript and try to figure it out. And we can take the learner data and we can empower them with choices, actions, and outcomes without dependency on a lot of cumbersome engagement. And look, no surprise, the key to this is data. Data is the key. Now think of data, think of all the silos that exist, not just in education, but in healthcare and all these other verticals. Data is the perfect horizontal. It cuts across every silo, okay? Doesn't matter what vertical you're in. And by cutting across and eliminating those silos, we open up opportunities for amazing change, particularly in access and opportunity. So the potential and the talent that's locked away in every human being, no matter who they are, it's in their data. It's in their data. And if it's properly mined as a tool of empowerment and not a product to be sold, we can empower millions of people about how they learn and the ways that they learn. What don't you see in that video, that picture? Yeah, there's no silos. There's just, think of this as an amazing sea of learner data that exists on every college campus, everywhere. All right, this incredible sea of learning data. Through structured and unstructured actions, interactions, behavior, We're swimming in a treasure trove of learner data. And you know what? It tells us who they are. It tells us how they learn. It tells us how their brains have developed. It tells us what their needs are. It also can help tell us what are their hopes and dreams. Education should be harvesting that data, not ignoring it, harvesting it. And not to sell, again, but to empower, not to manage, but to invest, and not to judge who the learner is before we even encounter them, but to help them understand their talents, build their skills, and unleash their potential. So this data allows us to create a whole new matrix of higher ed. This is how higher ed should be organized: around data, AI, and content management. We can take all the content at universities today and call it a content store of knowledge, pedagogy, research that becomes the new organizing principle for a university, and it opens up what? Modularized content that can be accessed by learners in all stages of their life. Some will earn degrees, some will have certificates, some will just do skill development. Like during the pandemic, I wanted to learn how to cook better, so I basically used YouTube as a cooking school. The other thing this does is it pushes out services, information, career engagement, everything, again, in this Amazon-like fashion, but a twist. Students own their own data. Not Amazon, not Facebook, not Google. Students own their data, and they know who they are. And they decide, and they work within this ecosystem. And they work with us because they can trust us that we're not going to monetize that data. And what also happens with this is you basically eliminate, and I'm just going to say it, a whole host of administrative work that is done, we're spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that we won't need to waste, and as a result, greatly lower the cost. So this new university that I'm talking about here, it's an access and opportunity revolution. It's mobile and it's flexible. And here's how it's going to operate. You're going to pay for it not $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 a year. It's going to be a subscription model, like Netflix or your cell phone bill. And you'll have access to it for a lifetime. So if you're like me and you like to binge watch The Sopranos on Netflix, you get to do it one weekend, or maybe you don't utilize it for some period of time. It's going to be built around the learner's, what we call a living learning profile of each learner that tailors content and pedagogy to the learner and not the other way around. Warehouse instruction has to die. There'll be faculty, digital life coaches, and facilitators partnering with students to shape their journey. It's going to be continuous and lifelong. And it's going to be seamlessly tied to the employers, seamlessly tied to a learner's career choices, so that the learner has options and the employer knows who they're dealing with. It adds value to the educational experience, it empowers the learner, and it also empowers employers in terms of careers for their employees. The learner will know the hows and whys of their unique skill sets. They'll know the hows and whys, and they can align that with the career they want to go into, because everybody in this room knows that learners today and tomorrow are going to have multiple careers in their life. And instead of playing a guessing game, I'm doing this, but I kind of like to do that. I don't know if it'll work out or not, but I kind of like to do that. They're going to know. They're going to have a much clearer picture of that next career and why their skills align with it and so forth, instead of just getting lucky and having to meet somebody who helps you along that path. My brother was always into math and numbers. One day my father looked at him and said, "Why don't you be an actuary?" My brother said, "What the hell is being an actuary?" And he explained it to him, and he went, became an actuary, and still spent most of his life miserable, but that's for personal reasons, not professional. But most importantly, look, This model that greatly lowers the cost and empowers learners then creates an access and opportunity revolution. Millions of people will be able to get the education they want and need. And it won't be based on how much money you have or what zip code you're in, right? Or your race or gender or any of that other stuff. It's going to be about access and opportunity. And I don't know about you, but we've got massive problems on this planet. We could list them all here. We'd be here all day and night. I think it's smart that instead of having 500 people working on a cure for cancer, we have 5 million scientists doing it. I think we need more talent working on humanities problems and a more diverse talent pool, not a bunch of guys that look like me. So this access and opportunity revolution is essential. It's vital. And higher ed can do it. The tools already exist. This isn't some invention. The tools already exist, and I'll let you in on a little secret. We're piloting this right now. And we'll be glad to come back and tell you how it worked. Thank you very much. We got a little bit of time for questions. Anybody want to? Yes. I wish I could, but the lawyers would kill me. No, we're partnering with a company that has created essentially a very sophisticated AI network, and we're using it with a subset of students and alums, actually. And what we're doing is studying the impact on how they're utilizing this as they progress. We're very excited about what we've seen so far. We're excited about what it can do. I'd be a liar if I said to you that someday, we're going to wake up on a Tuesday, turn a switch, and this entire model will be in place. It's going to be phased in over time. But it changes it flips the whole mindset and matrix around what we're trying to do. And so far, very, very early, this learner empowerment, being able, think of it this way, Amazon has a tremendous digital profile of you. I don't know you, and me. They do me. And we never get to see it. We only see what they push out to us. What would it be like working with a university if a university could create that digital, help the students' data, and give it to the student? They could see it. They would know why they love doing this and why they're good at this and why they struggle with and I'm being very simplistic. It's much deeper than that. What doors would open for a learner in that environment, be it 18 or 35 or 60? It's not just exciting. It's amazing to think the amount of talent that can be unleashed. And it's not, look, universities, some, not all, have reached out to underserved communities with scholarships and all kinds of opportunities, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not, right? We do that, everybody. That's incremental. That's not going to do it. That's not going to create the kind of revolution where you've got millions having access as opposed to a few thousand. You can't, there's not enough money to do it, or at least there's not enough access of money to do that. But also there's a fundamental flaw with it. It's not focused on the learner, right? It's not focused on the learner. Higher ed talks student-centric. Higher ed has never been student-centric. It needs to be student-centric, finally. Yes, sir. I think you're always going to, look, I think you're always going to have degree, you're going to have a nursing degree because the nursing profession's not going to let you practice, thankfully. I don't want to look up and see Phil there standing over me with a needle, I'm not, you're going to still have degrees, you're going to still have graduate degrees, your certificates and but the access to it is not going to be this ladder instruction all the time where, I call it the tyranny of the prerequisite, right? Well, no, stop right there. Stop right there, Jessica. You didn't have 101, and you can't go to 102. It's going to be learner-centric. Some people are going to enter these areas and this content store, if you will, they're going to enter it from 1,000 different angles. And it's going to be based on them, not based on us, not based on what we think. Think about it. We administer a standardized test to a bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds, and based on that, we sit there and judge their potential to learn. That's the most arrogant, asinine thing I've ever seen. Okay? It's crazy. You know, high school, I was voted most likely to go to prison, okay? Sort of. I'm not exaggerating that much. But, you know, I mean, it's nuts. I remember when I went to the guidance counselor, and she looked at me, and she looked at my file, and she went, And she said, have you ever thought about not going to college? So she had made her judgment already. What else? Oh, yeah, go ahead, please. I've got bad hearing, so I'm just letting you know. Well, the only organization that I know that's slower than higher ed is accrediting bodies. I think that's obvious to all of us. I think accrediting bodies are realizing, this is from what I know, that they're behind things. Now, that hasn't engineered any real change at all, but think of it this way. We're talking about creating a fast-moving revolution, not a slow, incremental, one-at-a-time kind of thing. We're talking about we're starting something that we think can really, I think that momentum will overwhelm accrediting bodies. I believe many accrediting bodies, not professional, like state boards of nursing and things like that, but education accreditors, I think, will be out of business, just like I think the NCAA will be out of business in this decade as well, for all intents and purposes. That doesn't get to the specifics of but I think the momentum of something like this will wash over them. I'll tell you, we started online nursing back in 2015, and we've been very successful. We've gone online with a whole bunch of programs, grown rapidly with that. And the accrediting body hated that. They hated growth, and so they came to visit and said, you can't possibly be doing this. You know, it's got to be, you know, they're like, you got your hand in the till, something. And they went through everything, and they said, oh, no, we actually learned a lot. You guys are doing it the right way. So I think accrediting bodies got to turn it around. Yes? Here's the deal. We believe that this process, or creating this ecosystem, is something that we want universities, we want everybody to come to the table and participate and be engaged. We're not looking at this as, well, we want to build Maryville into, 20 million students and everybody else. We think we're starting something that everyone can be a participant in, individual faculty and universities and other entities. So yeah, come one, come all. I've got to wrap that up time-wise. How about if we talk when this is over, okay? I'll be around to do that. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.